Folks, this is not investment advice because we are not able to predict what will happen to the share price of any stock nor stock market index in the future. That being said, Phathom Pharmaceuticals' current enterprise valuation of $800 million at $11 per share is roughly 13% of Phathom's cumulative analyst consensus revenue estimates for the 9-year period 2024 through 2032. Provention Bio and Viela Bio had very similar cumulative 9-year revenue projections as Phathom and were acquired at roughly 50% of their collective projected revenues for the same prospective 9-year period. Provention and Viela were acquired 4 and 8 months after their FDA approval dates, respectively. Before we share our math, Phathom Pharmaceuticals' FDA-approved therapy called Voquezna lists for $650 a bottle. We apologize if our automated voice is mispronouncing words and/or names. Again, Voquezna lists for $650 a bottle, where Provention Bio's FDA-approved Tzield lists for $14,000 a dose. Viela Bio's FDA-approved product is called Uplanza that costs something like $140,000 a year. Our simple point being Provention and Viela may not be good comps because the product profiles are so different. At the same time, the 9-year revenue projections in sales dollar terms are very close. Let's share our math. Here are Phathom analyst consensus revenue estimates by year through 2032 per Seeking Alpha and Fintel that we label as column A through I. Add all 9 years together, shown here as adding up columns A through column I, and you get $6.205 billion in cumulative revenues over the 9-year period that we will reflect in column EX. Analysts therefore expect Phathom to generate $6.205 billion in cumulative sales between now and the year 2032. Per Seeking Alpha, Phathom's enterprise value at $11 a share, using Phathom share data as of July 20, 2024, is $800 million that we will show here in column Y. Simple math, divide Phathom's enterprise value of $800 million in row Y by the $6.205 billion in cumulative 9-year analyst consensus revenue estimates in column X and you get 13%. Folks, this is simple math. Let's populate the same worksheet for Provention Bio and Viela Bio. Here is a snapshot of Provention Bio's financial forecast provided Sanofi as shown on page 45 of Provention Bio's 14D9 filing dated March 24, 2023. Let's reflect them right under Phathom's by year but reflect them as year 1 through year 9 in our worksheet. So you see Provention's management forecast $997 million in fiscal year 2029 sales. We reflect the $997 million as year 7 here. Provention Bio's Tzield was approved on November 17, 2022. Sanofi announced they were buying Provention Bio 4 months later on March 13, 2023. We add up the projected Tzield revenues for the 9-year period year 1 through 9 beginning in 2023 through 2031 as prepared by Provention's management, again as shown in columns A through I, and you get $6.168 billion in cumulative 9-year projected sales shown here in column X. My goodness, that is very close to Phathom's cumulative 9-year revenue estimate. Isn't that interesting? Provention Bio was acquired for an enterprise value of $2.9 billion, shown here in column Y, which was 47% of their cumulative 9-year revenue forecast. We divide the enterprise value in column Y by the cumulative 9-year revenue projection in column X just like we did for Phathom. Now we won't take the time here to share a snapshot of Viela Bio's 14D9 filing, but here are Viela Bio's revenue projections for the first 9 years after launch of their FDA-approved therapy, again in columns A through I to reflect year 1 through 9 after FDA approval. Add up all 9 years and you get $5.26 billion in cumulative projected revenues shown in column EX. Viela Bio was acquired for an enterprise value of $2.632 billion, shown in column Y, which we see is 50% of their cumulative 9-year projected revenues. Folks, our simple point is if Phathom was acquired in the next few months at roughly the same cumulative 9-year revenue multiple, and yes, this is a huge, and we mean huge if, but if Phathom hypothetically was acquired at either of these 2 recent commercial stage biopharma's cumulative 9-year revenue multiples, that would be a Phathom non-fully diluted enterprise value roughly 4 times higher than today. Now of course, there are other considerations like gross margin, royalties due third parties, terminal value after 10 years from now if it can be reasonably estimated, patent life etc. See here Phathom owes Takeda a royalty at a rate of sales in the quote-unquote low double digits to the mid-teens per their last 10K. Provention apparently owed Macrogenics a royalty on Tzield sales in the quote-unquote single digits. It appears Viela Bio did not owe any royalty on their Uplanza sales, but we could be wrong. This is only one analysis, so take it with a grain of salt. More important, enterprise value is not the same as market cap and per share value. Before we share some background and third-party estimates around Voquezna sales potential, let's compare Phathom's cumulative 9-year revenue multiple to ARQT Biotherapeutics, ticker ARQT. ARQT has a FDA-approved therapy for psoriasis called Zorv that was first approved around the same as Phathom's first approval and also got their 3rd or 4th label expansion a few weeks ago. Perhaps as important, though, Voquezna IA a pill and Zorv is a cream, both are priced very roughly the same. Zorv lists for $950 for a treatment cycle versus Voquezna at $650. Here are ARQT analyst consensus revenue estimates for the next 9 years right underneath Phathom. Add all 9 years up and we see analysts project ARQT to generate just under $6 billion in cumulative 9-year revenues shown in column X per Seeking Alpha as of July 20, 2024. ARQT's enterprise value at $9.75 a share is $932 million shown in column Y, though be careful as ARQT also has a royalty financing agreement. In any event, assuming Seeking Alpha's enterprise value is right, we see ARQT trades at 16% of cumulative 9-year analyst revenue estimates, slightly higher than Phathom. Again, there are countless other considerations than revenue growth. Okay, let's go back. Phathom's Voquezna was first approved in May 2022 for the treatment of Helicobacter pylori. Then, after a manufacturing-related impurity issue was resolved to the FDA's satisfaction, approved for erosive gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD for short, in November 2023. Then a few days ago, Voquezna was approved for non-erosive GERD. Non-erosive GERD, characterized by heartburn, is supposedly the largest category of GERD. For this article in Fierce Pharma written the day after the erosive GERD indication last November, Phathom CEO says VOQUEZNA has estimated peak sales potential at more than $3 billion with this non-erosive label. Is he right? We wish we knew. You can read here an analyst at Needham calls Phathom its top pick for 2024, projecting VOQUEZNA peak sales just in the United States of $580 million in erosive GERD, $1.2 billion in non-erosive GERD and $95 million for the little Helicobacter pylori indication. Add these three estimates together, these amounts shown here are in millions, and the Needham analyst projects just under $1.9 billion in peak sales. For this article from pharmaceuticaltechnology.com in early November 2023, according to global data, VOQUEZNA is forecast to generate $1.8 billion in sales in 2029. Phathom analyst consensus used in our model to compare to Provention and Viela noted $927 million in 2029 sales. Again, supposedly global data says $1.8 billion. Folks, we are not qualified to opine on these VOQUEZNA revenue estimates, and remember this is not investment advice, but if these other published estimates are right, then the Phathom collective analyst consensus revenue estimates we shared at the beginning of this video are dramatically understated, which suggests, not confirms but suggests, Phathom trades for even less than 13% of their collective 9-year revenue estimates. Last time, we do not know which estimates are right. To wrap this up, we've tracked the valuation-related data points for the acquisitions of all 31 commercial-stage oncology and non-oncology focused biopharmas with market caps north of $500 million since January 1, 2017. These are the 10-year revenue forecasts prepared by the Acquirers management team. As best we can tell, Provention Bio and Viela Bio's revenue projections appear to be the best comparable from a sales dollars per year perspective from the non-oncology group to Phathom, but of course we could be wrong. Phathom's VOQUEZNA lists for $650 per bottle, where Provention Bio's TZIELD lists for $14,000 per dose, and Viela Bio's UPLANZA was also a big number compared to VOQUEZNA. Obviously product volumes will be very different, so the selling infrastructures are not comparable. This analysis does not consider gross margin nor the entity's terminal value at the end of 9 years. Phathom is obligated to pay Takeda royalties in the quote-unquote low double digits plus the royalty due the royalty financiers. Of course a buyer could just pay the royalty financier the 2x cap on the amount borrowed. VOQUEZNA could also face patent challenges. Most important, we have no idea if these VOQUEZNA analyst estimates are credible. Markets could also crash. We also make inadvertent mistakes in our Excel worksheets. Our simple point is this analysis may be dangerously flawed and or we could be dead wrong, so always do your own due diligence before investing in any stock. However, if you believe projected revenues are an important component of valuation when commercial stage biopharmas are acquired, and if you believe VOQUEZNA analyst consensus revenue estimates are credible, then perhaps you should research Phathom Pharmaceuticals for yourself. If we knew for sure Phathom was going to be acquired in the near term, we certainly would not be sharing it with you here. Again folks, this is not investment advice. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. Please take a minute to like this video and follow us on YouTube. Thank you again.